Chosen one, someone fell in love with you. And right now, right this second, heaven is holding its breath, waiting to see what you're going to do about it. I know what you've been telling yourself. Late at night, when the apartment gets too quiet, when you're scrolling through photos of grandkids, weddings, couples holding hands in Central Park, you tell yourself the same story. That chapter closed, love, that ship sailed, I'm too old, too tired, too late. But here's what they don't tell you in those ARP magazines. What your well-meaning friends won't say over coffee at the dinner age is just a number on your driver's license. But your destiny was written in the ink of eternity before you ever took your first breath. You think the train left the station. God owns the whole subway system. You feel like your heart's been sitting on a shelf in the back of some forgotten storage room, gathering dust. Let me tell you something that's going to shake you. God doesn't put anything on a shelf that He doesn't plan to use. And right now, in this very moment, He's reaching for you. Maybe you're divorced. Maybe you buried the love of your life and thought you'd never feel warmth again. Maybe every relationship fell apart and people told you, at your age, be realistic. Maybe you never married at all, and the loneliness sits in your chest like a stone. But heaven just leaned forward and whispered your name. Before this video ends, I'm going to show you 3 undeniable signs that this love, this divine love, is already in motion. Most people miss the second one completely. I'll walk you through how God orchestrates encounters that look like coincidence but carry the fingerprints of destiny. And we're going to pray a prayer together that pulls your future into your present. There's someone or something God has already aligned with your path. And age will not interfere with what the Almighty Himself ordained. If something inside you just stirred, if your spirit is whispering, "This is for me," type in the comments right now. It's not too late for me. Let that declaration go into the atmosphere. And listen, thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead. But stay with me all the way to the end. There's a prayer of alignment you don't want to miss. Chosen one, it's time to stop believing the lie that your best days are behind you. Heaven is about to prove you wrong. Chosen one, let me ask you something you probably don't say out loud. When you look in the mirror these days, do you whisper to yourself, "Who's going to want me now?" Maybe it's when you're getting ready in the morning and you catch your reflection under that bathroom light. The lines around your eyes. The grey that won't stop coming. The body that doesn't move like it used to. And something inside you quietly says, "My time passed." I know, because I've sat across from you. Not literally, but spiritually. I've heard your prayers at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep because the bed feels too big. I've felt your silence when you make coffee for 1 again. When you come home to an empty apartment in Queens, in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, and there's nobody to ask, "How was your day?" Nobody to check if you made it home safe. You don't post about this on Facebook. You don't tell your kids because you don't want to worry them. But the loneliness sits in your chest like a stone you've learned to carry. And here's what makes it worse. You turn on the TV, flip through your phone, walk past the billboards in Times Square, and everywhere you look, society is screaming one message: youth is everything. Smooth skin, tight bodies, young love. They've made you feel invisible. Like you're a book everyone stopped reading halfway through. Maybe you're divorced and you think, "I already failed once." Maybe you buried the love of your life, and the idea of starting over feels like betraying their memory. Maybe every relationship you tried fell apart and people said, "Stop chasing fairy tales. At your age, be realistic." Or maybe you never married at all, And now you carry a quiet shame, like somehow you missed the boat, like God forgot to write your name on the guest list for love. But here's where I need you to lean in close, because what I'm about to tell you is going to sound impossible. Society sees wrinkles. God sees wisdom lines. They see your years as decline. God sees them as seeds that are finally ready to bloom. Your life may feel like late autumn, but heaven is planning a surprise spring. There's a story in the Bible that proves God loves to show up when everyone else says it's too late. We're going to get there. And when we do, you'll understand why someone's heart is quietly being drawn to you in this season. It's not random attraction. It's divine orchestration. If any part of this sounds like your story, just whisper it right now, wherever you are. Lord, that's me. He hears you. Because what you're feeling right now, this emptiness, this fear that love has passed you by, it's not the end of your story. It's the setup for your miracle. Let me tell you something about God that'll shake you right out of that resignation you've been sitting in. God's favorite time to move, when everybody else has given up, when the doctors shake their heads, when your friends stop asking, when you yourself whisper, "It's over." That's when heaven leans in and says, "Watch this." Abraham was 10 years old, Sarah was teeny. Think about that for a second. 90 years old. Arp had long since stopped sending her magazines about staying active. Her body had shut down decades before, and God said, "Now. Right now is when I'm giving you Isaac." If God can open a womb the world called dead, He can open a chapter in your life others call finished. You hear me? Your heart is not a carton of milk with an expiration date stamped on the side. God is not scrolling through your birth year before He decides whether you qualify for blessing. He doesn't check your driver's license and say, "Oh, 72. Sorry, we're all out of miracles for that age bracket." That's human thinking, and human thinking has been lying to you. Look at Ruth, widowed, broken, working the fields just to survive. Nobody was writing romance novels about her future. But then Boaz, a mature man, established, seasoned by life, sees her. Not some 20-year-old with six-pack abs. A man who understood that love isn't a teenage fever dream. It's destiny walking toward you in work boots. Ruth didn't get a boy, she got a covenant. And out of that union came the bloodline of King David, of Jesus himself. Your love story isn't over. It hasn't even started yet. Elizabeth and Zechariah passed childbearing years, living quiet lives, faithful but forgotten. Until one day an angel shows up and says, "Your prayers have been heard," decades-old prayers. Prayers they'd stopped praying out loud because it hurt too much to hope. God remembered. At the exact moment the world called too late. Here's what you need to understand. There's Chronos time and there's Kairos time. Chronos is the calendar, the clock on your nightstand, the birthday candles multiplying every year. That's human time. Limited. Finite. But Kairos is when heaven steps into your timeline and rewrites the whole script. It's the appointed moment. The divine intersection. The collision between what was and what God says will be. Some of you watching this, you're not in a Chronos season anymore. You're standing in a Kairos collision, and you don't even realize it yet. God doesn't need your youth. He needs your yes. If these stories are lighting something inside your chest, if you feel that stirring you've been trying to ignore, write it in the comments right now. God's timing over my timing. Because here's what's coming next. I'm about to show you the 3 unmistakable signs that what's in front of you isn't just another distraction. It's a divine setup. And you need to know how to recognize it before you miss it. Chosen one, stop right there. This isn't some motivational fluff. This isn't a bedtime story to make you feel warm for 5 minutes. Heaven is looking at your actual life right now, not your past. Not some distant future, right now. And what heaven sees Someone else is starting to see too. Let me tell you what happened while you weren't paying attention. While you were convinced your season was over. While you were telling yourself nobody could ever want someone with your history, your scars, your age, God was doing something you couldn't see. He was turning every single tear you cried into something precious. He was transforming your loneliness into depth, your pain into compassion, your brokenness into a beauty that only certain eyes can recognize. And someone right now has those eyes. They're not falling in love with some airbrushed version of you. They're not drawn to what you looked like 30 years ago. They see your grey hair as glory, not as a reason to run. Proverbs 6:3 says, "Grey hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." That's not poetry. That's prophetic truth. What the world calls aging, heaven calls preparation. You are like a book that only gets richer in the later chapters. The beginning was introduction, the middle was conflict. But now you're in the part where wisdom meets wonder, where experience becomes magnetic, where survival transforms into strength that draws the right person like a moth to flame. Listen to me carefully. Every heartbreak you survived didn't disqualify you. It qualified you. Every lonely night when you asked God, "Why am I still here?" those nights weren't wasted. They were shaping you into someone who knows how to love without conditions, without games, without the shallow nonsense that fills up dating apps and empty marriages. God has been writing subtitles under your pain, and now someone has finally learned to read them. They see resilience where others saw wrinkles. They see kindness that only comes from having been wounded and choosing grace anyway. They see a spirit that didn't harden when it had every reason to, and that is what makes you irresistible to the right soul. Age did not stop this person's heart from choosing you. Age cannot interfere with what the Almighty Himself ordained. Psalm 30:4 promises, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Notice it doesn't say, "Unless you're over 60." It doesn't say, "Only if you still look like you did in 19th time." But here's the question burning in your chest right now. How do you know if this love is from God or just another test? How do you recognize divine alignment versus another heartbreak waiting to happen? In the next part, I'm going to walk you through clear, undeniable signs. But before we go there, if there is already someone on your mind while I'm speaking, don't say their name out loud. Just hold them before God in your heart right now. Because what I'm about to reveal next will confirm whether they're heaven-sent or a distraction you need to release. Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you could save you years of heartache. Not every hand reaching for yours in this season is sent by heaven. The enemy knows you've been lonely. He knows you've been praying. And he will send someone who loves your loneliness, but not your destiny. God will send someone who loves your destiny even more than your company. So how do you tell the difference? How do you know if this stirring in your heart is divine orchestration or spiritual distraction? Here are 5 undeniable signs that what you're feeling is God ordained. Sign number 1, peace, not panic. When it's from God, you feel safe to be yourself. You're not walking on eggshells. You're not constantly terrified they'll leave once they see the real you. The grey hair, the scars, the medications on the nightstand, the decades of baggage. Real love doesn't require you perform. It invites you to rest. If you're anxious all the time, that's not God. That's a red flag wrapped in romance. Sign number 2, values align. They honor your walk with God. They don't pull you away from prayer, from church, from your faith. They don't mock your devotion or make you feel foolish for believing. Amos 3:3 asks, "Can two walk together unless they are agreed?" If your spirits are moving in opposite directions, someone's going to get hurt. Sign number 3, fruit over fireworks. A counterfeit love is like a firework, loud, bright, spectacular for 3 seconds, Then it's gone and you're standing in the dark wondering what just happened. God-ordained love is like a city light that stays on through the night. It's steady, it's consistent. Less drama, more dependability. You want someone who shows up, not someone who just shows off. Sign number 4. They respect your past and don't weaponize your age. If someone makes jokes about you being too old, if they bring up your age to diminish you, to control you, to make you feel lucky they even looked your way, run. God sends people who see your journey as wisdom, your years as a crown, your survival as strength. Proverbs 6:1 says, "Grey hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." Sign number 5. Confirmation in prayer and wise counsel. You pray about it and peace floods your spirit. You talk to people who know God, not your lonely friends who'll tell you anything to keep you company, but people who hear from heaven. And they see it too. Proverbs 1:24 says, "Where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors there is safety." If every spiritual voice around you is saying, "Wait," and you're rushing ahead anyway, you're not following God. You're following your wound. Here's the truth that might sting. The enemy will send people who need you. God will send people who choose you. So ask yourself right now, does this feel like peace or pressure? Like alignment or compromise? Like God's timing or your desperation? If you want God's wisdom in this area, hit the like button as a small act of faith and comment, "Lord, help me discern." Share this with one friend you know is afraid they're too old for love. Because here's what's coming next. We're going to talk about your part. How to prepare your heart so you don't push away what you've been praying for. Chosen one, let me ask you something that might sting a little. What if the love you've been praying for has already knocked on your door, and you didn't answer because you didn't think you deserved it? What if God sent someone, and you pushed them away because you convinced yourself you were too broken, too complicated, too much trouble? Listen to me. Right now in this moment, the biggest enemy between you and what heaven has ordained is not your age. It's not your past. It's not even the devil. It's the story you keep telling yourself in the dark. I'm damaged goods. Nobody wants my baggage. I had my chance and I blew it. You know what that is? That's self-sabotage dressed up as humility. And it's keeping you locked in a prison you already have the key to. Proverbs 20:30 says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." What you believe about yourself becomes the border of what you'll allow God to do. You're standing at the edge of a miracle, but you're living inside a small apartment of fear when God is handing you keys to a mansion. You've been overthinking every conversation, analyzing every glance, assuming rejection before it even happens. You meet someone kind, and instead of receiving it, you think, "What do they want from me?" Someone compliments you, and you deflect it like it's an attack. Why? Because somewhere along the way, you decided you weren't worth loving anymore. But here's the truth heaven wants you to hear. You are not a used product. You are a limited edition, vintage, refined by fire, aged like fine wine, not spoiled milk. Right now, I want you to do something radical. I want you to forgive. Forgive the ex-spouse who walked away. Forgive the partner who broke your heart. Forgive your younger self for the mistakes you can't undo. Say it quietly if you need to. "Lord, I forgive them. And I forgive me." Because unforgiveness is a chain, and God can't move you forward if you're still shackled to yesterday. Let me be clear, taking care of yourself is not vanity. Going to the doctor, eating right, wearing something that makes you feel alive, that's not shallow. That's self-respect. That's you saying, "I'm still here and I still matter." You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. And if you're willing, if you're ready to let God rewrite the story you've been telling yourself, just whisper it. "Lord, I'm willing." Because soon we're going to talk about what happens when God's plan collides with human opposition. When family members raise their eyebrows. When friends say, "At your age, when the enemy throws spiritual warfare at what heaven has blessed. But first, you need to stop being your own biggest obstacle. So let me ask you one more time. Are you going to sabotage what you prayed for, or are you finally ready to receive it? Chosen one, let me paint you a picture. Not some fairy tale, not some Hollywood fantasy. I'm talking about what God-ordained love actually looks like when heaven writes the script and age becomes irrelevant. Picture this. It's early morning in a Brooklyn apartment. 2 cups of coffee sitting on a worn kitchen table. You're reading Proverbs together, not because you have to, but because after all these years, you finally found someone who wants to seek God with you. Someone who doesn't rush you. Someone who knows that silence between 2 people can be just as sacred as words. You're walking down Amsterdam Avenue, holding hands. And here's the thing, your hands aren't smooth anymore. They're marked by decades, by marriages that ended, by children raised, by losses that nearly broke you. But when those 2 weathered hands lock together, something happens in the spiritual realm that makes angels pause. This isn't puppy love. This is lion love. This is 2 people who've already survived their own wildernesses, now choosing to walk through the promised land together. You're praying over grandchildren together, speaking life over futures you may not live to see. And in that moment, you realize you're not starting from zero. You're combining 2 entire histories of grace, 2 libraries of wisdom, 2 reservoirs of faith that have been tested and proven. Listen to me. You thought age was a wall keeping you from love, but God is about to show you that age is actually the doorway He chose to walk through with this blessing. Because here's what the young folks don't understand yet. They're still trying to figure out who they are. You already know. You've been refined. You've been through the fire. Malachi 3:3 says, He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. That's you, chosen one. You're purified silver now, and when 2 pieces of purified silver come together, they don't just sit next to each other, they reflect the glory of God so bright it blinds the enemy. This love isn't about performing. It's not about impressing anyone at the senior center. It's not about proving you've still got it. This love is about finally being able to exhale, to sit quietly with someone and not need to explain your scars because they've got their own, to speak life to each other's insecurities, to cover each other in prayer when the doctor's appointments start piling up. You are not someone's second choice. You are not a backup plan. You are a divinely scheduled appointment written in heaven's calendar before the foundation of the world. Think of it like this: 2 candles that have already burned for years, now lighting each other even brighter. The wax may be lower, but the flame is hotter, steadier, more focused than it's ever been. But let me tell you something that's going to wake you up right now. Anytime God moves, there is resistance. Anytime heaven signs off on something beautiful, hell sends interference. And right now there are voices, some outside you, some inside your own head, that are already working overtime to convince you this isn't real, to tell you you're being foolish, to whisper, at your age, really? So let me ask you directly, are you going to let those voices steal what God Himself ordained? If you can see even a glimpse of this kind of love for yourself, if something in your spirit just leaped, write it in the comments right now. Age will not interfere with what God ordained for me. Because, chosen one, we need to talk about the resistance. We need to expose the voices that will try to sabotage what heaven has already approved. Now listen to me carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to tell you could be the difference between you walking into your destiny and you backing away from it. When God starts moving something sacred into your life, especially love, especially at this stage, hell is going to notice before your friends do. Let me be blunt. The moment heaven aligns something divinely orchestrated for you, opposition will rise. Not maybe, not sometimes, always. Your own family might look at you sideways. At your age, really, they'll say it with concern in their voice, but what you're hearing is doubt wrapped in politeness. Friends who used to celebrate you will suddenly go quiet. Or worse, they'll start asking questions that sound caring but carry poison. Are you sure this is God? Don't you think you should slow down? And here's the part nobody warns you about. The enemy will use religious people to shame you. They'll quote scripture at you. They'll tell you to be content where you are. They'll make you feel foolish for believing God still has romance, companionship, or covenant love written into your story. But let me tell you what's really happening in the unseen realm. The enemy hates covenant love that glorifies God. He despises it. Because when two people come together under divine assignment, they don't just build a relationship. They build a kingdom outpost. They become dangerous. Their prayers carry double the authority. Their joy becomes a weapon. Their unity silences the accusations of hell itself. That's why the attacks come. You need to understand something. Opposition is not evidence that you missed God. Sometimes it's evidence that you're right on target. Jesus said in Matthew 19:6, "What God has joined together, let no one separate." Notice he didn't say, "What God joins together will have an easy path." He said, "Let no one, not your critics, not your fear, not even your own inner voice, tear apart what heaven has sealed." So how do you respond when the criticism comes? First, you anchor yourself in prayer. You stop trying to defend your blessing to people who aren't spiritually mature enough to recognize it. You don't owe everyone an explanation. When heaven delivers a package to your door, don't let every neighbor sign for it. Second, you seek wise counsel, not popular opinion. There's a difference between someone who prays with you and someone who gossips about you. Choose carefully who gets access to your sacred story. Third, you set boundaries. You don't overshare early. You protect what's tender. You guard what's still forming. Just because someone asks doesn't mean they've earned the right to know. And here's what most people don't understand about tests. Misunderstandings will come. Delays will happen. Practical obstacles will show up. But delay is not denial. A test is not a no. Sometimes God allows pressure so you can prove to yourself, not to Him, to yourself, that you're serious about what He's giving you. The enemy wants you to quit when it gets hard. He wants you to interpret every bump in the road as a sign you missed it. But I'm telling you right now, if you walk away from what God ordained just because people don't understand it, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Don't you dare let fear dressed up as wisdom talk you out of your blessing. Because in just a moment, we're going to step into something powerful together. We're going to make a prophetic declaration over your life. We're going to pray a prayer that shifts the atmosphere. This is your altar moment, right where you're sitting. But before we do, you need to decide, are you going to trust God more than you fear man? Chosen one, we've come to the moment where everything shifts. Listen to me carefully. Age is not your enemy. Your birth date is not your disqualification. What's standing between you and the love God has prepared is not the number of candles on your last birthday cake. It's unbelief. It's fear. It's the lie you've been rehearsing in the mirror every morning that says, "It's over for me." But God is not intimidated by your age. He never has been. Sarah was 90 years old when she laughed at the promise of a child, 90, and heaven didn't flinch. God smiled and said, "Watch me." Moses was 80 when he stood before Pharaoh. Anna was 84 when she saw the Messiah with her own eyes and prophesied over him in the temple. Your age doesn't scare heaven. Your doubt does. And right now, I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. Someone has already fallen in love with you. Whether that person is sitting across from you at breakfast tomorrow morning, whether they're walking down Amsterdam Avenue right now with no idea your paths are about to collide, whether they're praying in a quiet apartment 3 blocks away asking God for exactly who you are, heaven is not confused. God knows exactly who. He knows exactly when. And age will not interfere with what the Almighty Himself has already written in the book of life. Do you hear me? Age will not interfere. I'm going to make some declarations over your life right now, and I need you to receive them. Not with your mind, with your spirit. I declare over you, you are not too late. I declare over you, you are not too old. I declare over you, you are not disqualified by the years, by the wrinkles, by the grey hair, by the mistakes, by the divorce papers, by the empty bed, by the loneliness that's been your companion for too long. I declare that God is turning the last chapter of your life into the most highlighted pages in heaven's library. The pages angels will study. The pages your grandchildren will tell stories about. The pages that prove God's faithfulness has no expiration date. Now I want you to do something with me. Right where you're sitting, place your hand over your heart. Feel it beating. That heartbeat is proof you're still in the game. That rhythm is God's signature that says, I'm not finished with you yet. And I want you to pray this prayer with me, out loud. Don't just think it, speak it. Father, I surrender my fear. I surrender the lies I've believed about my age, about my worth, about my future. I invite your timing into my life. I ask for discernment to recognize the love you've prepared. I bless the person you've already ordained for me, whether I know their name yet or not. I receive what you have written. I receive divine love. I receive supernatural alignment. In Jesus' name, amen. Now whisper your own name before God. Say it, and then say these two words, I receive. If this message just broke something open inside you, if you feel tears you didn't expect, if hope just walked back into the room after years of absence, I need you to type in the comments right now, Amen, I receive this God-ordained love. And if you know someone, a friend, a sister, a brother, someone sitting alone tonight thinking their story is over, send this to them. Be the messenger heaven is using right now. Stay connected here, subscribe, because we walk this journey together. Your season is not over. It's just beginning.